welcome to Down Under Network. This is Cancon 2019, the Australian ITC Championships. I've got Adam doing some data monkey work for me. I've got Chelsea, the lovely Chelsea, doing data entry for me. And I am just running around like a headless chook, but we're good. We're good. So we're gonna dive on in and do a quick little update of what's going on here, and then I'm gonna bring in some special guests in just a moment. So we've got Carlos. Let me just bring up the lists. Doing this, solo here a little bit. Carlos Garcia. He's playing Dark Angels primary, so he's got a battalion of Azzy, Primaris, Tech Marine, I should have Primaris Lieutenant, Tech Marine, 3 units of Scouts, and then a Dark Shroud and 9 Hellblasters, triple Repulsor, and then he's got a battalion of Cadia with a Loyal 32 with the Mortars. He is playing against Tim. Let's bring up his list. Tim Rosenberg, who's running a battalion of Hive Fleet Kraken, Malanthrope, Neurothrope, Ripper Swarms, Termagants. Then he's got 3 units of 2 Biovores, so 6 in total. Then he's got Hive Fleet Kraken battalion with Brewlord, Swarmlord, and a whole bunch of Gene Stealers and a Tyrannocyte. So hopefully you guys can hear me coming through. Let me just mute that one there. Those are the 2 lists. Team 1 deployment, Carlos got first turn, and we've dived into first turn. In addition, if I just bring up the score sheet here, their secondaries selected were Mark for Death, Kingslayer and Recon for Tim, and then Reaper, Kingslayer and Mark for Death for Carlos. So, we have some special guests joining us shortly. One of them sounds like he is ready to rumble, so let's see if we can go here. Let's bring him in. Alrighty, is that the Falcon? Fingers crossed. Technology. Let me just... Are you there? Hopefully we'll get him joining audio shortly. So basically we've been madly trying to do data entry of all the score sheets and getting them into Down Under Pairings to do the stats. We've also been just chasing our tail a little bit, but I think we're getting close to catching it. It's a hot day. We're let's just making sure these are updated. It's a toasty day, and 47 degrees Celsius outside, so well past the 100 Celsius.
How's it going? How do I sound?
Oh, you sound good to me, mate. You sound good to me. Let me just pump up some volume. All right. How you doing, my main man? Falcon? Caca!
I'm living the dream, buddy. I'm manually inputting data from your tournament here so that I have enough time to do the LVO stuff tomorrow.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right. So let's dive on in. So basically, we've got Peter the Falcon from many places, but we'll mainly go with the Chapter Tactics podcast for the moment, but also 40kstats.com. He is madly, no doubt, looking at LVO data, and let me just have a look here. Sorry, I'm just trying to add Add you in. Bear with me 1 second, because we've also got Abuse Puppy, who should, in theory, be ready to rumble on here, but let's try. We're multitasking, all multitasking. I know this is fantastic, fantastic work. We will get there. So basically what we've got so far is the first round of the Cancon 40k results into Down Under Pairings. We are doing it off paper score sheets, and that is not only a nightmare in the essence that it just takes a fair amount of time to physically enter that stuff, but also people make mistakes. We've actually picked up a lot of score sheet errors, which I'm not actually 100% certain what the TOs are deciding to do as far as that, but basically, scores just not adding up based on what's selected and whatnot. But hey, we'll see how we go. You can find the live results on the on the Best Coast Pairings website, which I'm just putting the link into the stream chat, and also you can find the lists either in the app if you've got the right access. Alternatively, if you go to downunderpairings.com and go to the leaderboard, you'll be able to see lists against their names as well. And you know what? Because I'm a lovely kind of guy, I'm going to chuck that link in the chat as well, just to make it a little easier for you guys to find it. All right. So far, we're partway through the. Let's just move some stuff around here. No, I do not have a pen. Yes, so basically we've got the Marine player that went first. Not a huge lot was achieved. There's not a lot, I think, that was going to happen in that first turn with those with the hammer and anvil deployment, with the repulsors all the way back there. But we are jumping along. How's it going on your end, Mr. Camillari?
Oh, plugging away, guys, plugging away. Still got about 10 left for round 2, and then we will be ready to just sail into this glorious new millennium.
Yes. Yeah.
Really?
They can probably hear you through my mic.
Sweet.
All right. Yes. So we're kind of flying. I'm going to say we're flying solo at the moment. We've got. All right. So apparently, let me just have a bit more of a play with Discord here. Bear with me. We're gonna get there eventually. All right. So I think that might be a little bit better there, Falcon. Hopefully you can now hear me through that. Turn my volume down a little bit. There we go. All right, technology. That's what we're going with here. So we will be joined by shortly. We'll be joined by Sean Morgan, aka Abuse Puppy, as well as Peter Falcone. Falcon. The Falcon.
Call me what you like.
Yeah, except for late for dinner. All right. Yes, in response to the chat, those are 3 repulsors, and it is pretty much an infantry-only NID list. So let me just. So I did go through the list just before, and as said, you can click on the Down Under Pairings link that you'll find in the chat. All right. Okay, it's interesting. We've so far we've got one round of stats into Down Under Pairings, and I'm pretty pumped to see some of the data that we've got. Obviously, it's one round, but in this one round, we've got 134 players, I believe. Now, I am pretty confident that a couple of people did not hand in a paper score sheet, so we will chase them up probably later this evening. It is not, it's one of those tough battles. The event needs to run smoothly, so we can't be holding up everything just because we want to do some amazing stats. Ideally, these scores would have been entered by the players, but we work with what we've got. It's still more data, I think, than any other event in this, even only with one round, has. So it'd be good to get some data going there. So a bit of a couple little top picks. The most common secondary selected in round one was old school. People just rocking it old school. And one of the least popular was behind enemy lines. So we'll mix up the middle there as we progress through. But it's just interesting to see some of those stats straight out of the bat. Mandalore Night, we started about 15 minutes ago. But we're rocking it, we're rolling it. You might not be able to tell from the top-down view, but those repulsors are on the top level of a ruin. So they are a good knight's height off the ground. That's a interesting call of placement there. All right, let's just move some stuff around. Okay. Yes, insert pun here, that's correct. It is the bottom of turn one. Nids went second. Is that this round? Already. So we've got this round has been going for 15 minutes. And big shout out to Peter Johnson, who just went 40-0 against our mate Mark Deal. Sorry, Mark. That's pretty impressive. Yeah. Ouch. There hasn't actually been so much damage so far, so we are still in, as I said, bottom of turn one. The Dark Angel list was relatively, I'll go with ineffective in the first round. But we'll keep you updated as this game progresses. So these guys are currently sitting 65th, so on a win and a loss. So basically what the plan is for day one is to show, well, not the top table on day one. I know it sounds a little bit odd, but with an 8-round event, we're trying to keep things a little bit mixed up. So this is middle of the pack. And we were asked what kind of criteria we wanted for day one's tables. And so we pretty much put out there, it'd be nice to have relatively nice painted armies. Adam is actually just not on right now. He might be, you know what, you can just have me all day long. All right. Hey, get back to data entry, monkey. All right. Yeah. So our criteria, pretty much for day one, was ideally nicely painted armies and relatively good matchups. So try not to have too many one-sided games. Although that being said, potentially we should aim for one-sided games for the one just before the after lunch break, because then we would have more time to do data entry. Unfortunately, both games have just gone right to the end. And so it cuts right into doing any data entry. I need a cattle prod. Look, all suggestions will be taken on advisement. Unfortunately, one member of the team might decide to vote against it. But hey, let's. I'm being assaulted by his almonds, dude. We have to pick them up later. You have to pick them up. All right. Okay, so yeah, basically we've just had an advance of a number of Gene Stealers running up the board. There's some good line of sight blocking terrain around, so we've got the. Let's just bring up our little drawing tools. So we've got the Gene Stealers rocking. Where are you? Yes, we've got the Gene Stealer mob up here and across here. And so there's a good chance that these guys are fairly blocked from line of sight. Although that being said, the repulsors do have good spotting on them, but we'll see how effective that's going to be. So this is mission 3. And yep. All right. So looks like round 1 scores are in. So relatively low scoring round 1. Tim scored recon, 1 point for recon, and hold 1, hold more, and Carlos scored the 1 point for hold 1. So as I said, it's a pretty low scoring first round or first turn, but fingers crossed we're diving on into the meat and potatoes of the game with the Gene Stealers really starting to push forward. We'll see just how many Gene Stealers the repulsors can remove. Although he's retreating a fair bit with those repulsors. Interesting decision. All right, let's just. Yep. Yeah, so we'll shortly be switching seats. Let Adam do some of the chatting.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting. I reckon the sound from the alert box sounds a lot like the Falcon. I'm not sure how he feels about that.
Are they coming through loud and clear? Is Falcon and Sean coming through?
I don't think, if I can get Falcon to just talk for a little bit, maybe even just introduce yourself for those who live under a rock, maybe plug a bit of 40kstats.com. I can do some audio work while I'm going.
For sure. Well, thanks for having me on, guys. The name's Peter Colosimo, but everyone apparently calls me Falcon now. It was a Facebook joke that got out of control. I run a website called 40kstats.com where I track all of the data work for majors and GTs the world over, essentially. So whatever tournaments either upload their stats to Best Coast Pairings or Down Under Pairings or Tourney Keeper, for that matter, who are just willing to send me like an Excel spreadsheet with all of the results. I upload them to my website. And we track everything from faction win percentages to the representation of different sub-chapters or chapter tactics. I also track things like first loss, so the average first time a faction loses in a tournament, just to get a gauge of where the meta stands. And I also track it on a time base, so we can see how it changes after a major FAQ or after chapter approved. I also am a co-host on the Chapter Tactics podcast with PD Pub, Abuse Puppy, Hidden Control, etc. And yeah, that's really all there is to it. I'm just this northern Canadian boy who is living the dream of stats management.
Yeah, I think you and I probably share a lot of similar traits there of living that stats dream. Be good to see if come the end of Cancon if there's any obvious trends, and I'd really be really interested to see if any of those clearly translate into LVO results. It's hard to say obviously this early on whether or not, you know, you've got different players, so it's all well and good say, you know, when start looking at win-loss ratios, but you know, part of that comes into the play is simply what the top players are playing as well.
For sure, and like there's different world metas for sure. I've been tracking tournaments in the UK and in Australia, North America, and even just like Canada to the United States. There's major differences in what we see for representation. Like in Canada, Eldar are all over the place, a much higher representation than you have in say the United States. The UK is the same. They love their pointy knife ears. Whereas like Australia, I see a lot of demons, and now we're seeing a lot of guard coming back because there were a lot of demons. It's very interesting. I really enjoy that part of watching these trends.
Yep. Well, I mean, currently the top, let's go with top six players of this event. You've got Chaos Demons, Ynnari, Sisters, Chaos Demons. So, yeah, it's still some pointy ears up there, but yeah, Chaos Demons, I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4 Chaos Demon players in the top 10, which is, yeah, I think you're not seeing that same trend in the US.
No, demons are they are winning occasionally. Guys like Jim Vessel are putting out some pretty good results with either Thousand Suns or Chaos Demons, but it is something that you see way more that I've seen way more frequently out of your side of the world.
Yeah. So if those guys on the chat can let us know if Peter's coming through loud and clear. The audio sounds good on my end. All the signals are looking good, but you know how Twitch can be sometimes. And also, let us know if you think he sounds a lot like the oh yeah that comes through from the alert box. And for those who are unfamiliar what the alert box sounds like, it sounds a little like this. Oh no, that's not the one I want. I want.
Oh yeah.
That one.
Oh, you're a bunch of wankers.
Oh, it's a good sound.
I'm also really glad to see, like when I go through BCP, that you guys have some really good characters that are also choosing to say that they're playing Sisters of Battle when they're playing something else, because I see that all the time in the United States. I don't know what the deal is. Yeah. Maybe because it's the top option in the drop down, but.
Yep. So I'm just gonna very quickly. No, because you won't hear him. So at the moment, the plan is to have the team from Chapter Tactics, or at least some of them, having a good chat with us about some stats, potentially about some of the lists that are winning, and so on. I'm going to quickly hand the headset over to Adam just for a second, because at the moment the Discord's just coming through my headset while I play around a little bit. So here's the wonderful Adam.
Hey. Listen to Adam every day. How's it going, people? Back in the game. Just... Hello. Whose dulcet tones am I listening to?
You're listening to the Falcon.
I'm guessing that's Sean.
No, it's me. I'm trying to do my best Sean impression,
it's
but it's
Peter.
really hard to get through. Yeah.
Sorry, baby. I can barely hear him. How can I turn him up? Fair enough. It's very loud in here, brother. How you doing today? You watching this game? You enjoying it?
I am watching the game. I've been watching the last few. I'm really glad you guys got your internet, pardon the French there, the shit together.
Oh, dude.
Really awesome stuff now.
I actually drove at breakneck speed to the nearest department store, grabbed a 15-meter network cable, and we're now hardwired into the internet, so no reliance on Wi-Fi anymore. And it's been pretty good since.
Yeah, no, it's been pretty wicked. I'm really interested in this game. Triple repulsor isn't something you see outside of like ETC style team tournaments very often.
So I've just joined in, so I think we're with Nid's on 3 points, Carlos on 2. Do you think he should have stayed up on the boxes? I think he should have stayed up on the terrain because the amount of Gene Stealer dudes he can get into combat with you is very much limited against rather than being on the ground where he's now.
Yeah, for sure. I probably would have tried to shove all 3 repulsors on that top floor and see if I could have just negated the Gene Stealers entirely.
Exactly, man. That was my thoughts as well. And then if they get up too high, you drop one back, and that one that's below clears out anything inside the ruin. So
yep.
I think it was a very good strategy. We'll see, because I know Tim's he's quite a good player. He was on our ATC team, the Victorian ATC team, which won the Australian Championship in that format this year. So, yeah, look, I'm interested to see how he goes. He's obviously going to give a lot more board control than the repulsors do, but the repulsors just have to be there. If they're still there and get about 3 or 4 turns shooting in, I think they win. But honestly, the Gene Stealers could mob them really quickly and just take them completely out of the game. Yeah, look,
it's hard to say. They put out a ton of DACA. I'm assuming he's got them built for the massive amount of shots.
Yeah, he has. Look at that move from the Gene Stealers. They've just gone about 18 inches. So yeah, it looks they can easily charge a repulsor. Another thing that's cool about repulsors is they've got -2 to be charged. So if you were to just kind of stay at max distance, understanding that it's very hard to do against Gene Stealers who can move from one side of the board to the other. But you're pretty well off because with that -2 to charge, and hell, they can't actually charge 2 repulsors because that's actually -4. Because I think they do stack, as last I heard.
If they stack, I'm not sure about that, but that is pretty incredible. Yeah, like they're in pretty rough shape.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to matter with how close the Gene Stealers are, but
no.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, interesting matchup. This could be over very quickly, or the Gene Stealers could bounce, and we got a game because they're still only winning on 6s.
Yeah, exactly. It's just if those Wrens go through, it's going to be a bad scene.
Yeah, absolutely right. So have you got a chance to look at any of the stats yet? Any of the preliminaries?
Yeah, I looked at the stuff that Josh sent over. There's some pretty cool stuff here. I'm really interested in how the secondaries have went. They don't really surprise me per se, but it's kind of it's more that it's like affirming things I've already believed, like old school being the most popular.
Yep.
That's something that I expected, and also the fact that it's also like probably the least effective, only getting
I was about
a little
to say,
over 2 points.
Just something that I noticed from putting in the data in, the amount of times I put in old school and it had 0 or 1 point in it was actually quite astonishing. I think it's everyone's just default when they don't know what else to take. They take old school and then they don't commit to any part of it and they get nothing out of it.
Yeah. No, it's an interesting thing with old school. I think a lot of it is that people are comfortable with it because it's like the normal secondary from standard GW, right?
It's the tried and true.
Yeah, so if they don't really know what to pick against an army because they're kind of new to the ITC format, it's your go-to, right? But
Absolutely
it's much more difficult to get than, say, Reaper or Titan Slayer if you're up against 3 or 4 knights.
Yeah, exactly, man. So I haven't seen much dice rolled. I would assume we were about to go into a psychic phase, but I think there could be some more moving. Although Tim, I think we'll be. Yeah, we got some deep strikes. So he's jumping down a Tyrannocyte. What is inside that bad boy? I've had a chance to look at the list. Let's hope Josh has got them up for us. Da-da-da. It's all good. And also Sean's talking to us. I don't know what he's. Yep, I think Sean's ready to go. How do we get him in? Sean, Shazza, baby, sugar, honey, talk to me. Talk to me. He's not talking. I assume he's not here.
Yeah, I don't think he's in the voice channel. I think he's only partially leaving the stream.
Let's give us a look at. Da-da-da-da-da. Yeah, Sean just needs to join in. Any chance you could tell him that, mate? Save me the time.
Yeah, I'm sending them a message.
Thanks very much, brother. Much appreciated. We are uploading data now, aren't we? We'll be ready to go, ready to deep dive into this gamut, this barrel of stat eels to swirl around with and enjoy their company.
Oh,
were you
here?
Were you here for the banana eating extravaganza?
It was pretty gross. I
But memorable,
When-
yeah?
If you've had, like, how long after you've started having an erection should you go see a doctor if it hasn't gone away?
Apparently it's like more than 3 hours, but man, I've broken my PB on that one many times all over.
I would also say it depends on why you have the erection. There are some times when, like, the moment it happens, it's like, go see the police.
Yeah. I just want to let you guys know that congratulations. This is literally probably, I think, the very first time anything like this has been achieved on a live stream on a game of 40k. Technically, it's been. Josh has just said, has it actually been achieved yet? Technically, they're talking to the people, so I'd say that's a win. If we actually get some meat and potatoes out of this, if we get some meat and potato content out of this, it'll be an absolute stellar performance. So that Tyrannocyte's come down. Looks like it's disgorged. I believe what's that in the Tyrannocyte? Is that all one eye?
Tyrannocyte.
Yeah. What was in it?
Gene stealers.
Yeah.
Looks like gene stealers to me.
No, they weren't. They moved from the other side of the crates. Something else. That monstrous creature's got out of it. We'll look it up. We'll look up that list in just a second. The people they need to know.
So Tim had.
Unmute you.
Yeah, so Tim had a Melanthrope, Neurothrope, Rippers, 27 Fleshborer Gaunts, 30 Fleshborer Gaunts, 3 units of 2 Biovores, so totaling 6
Yep.
there. And then he had Broodlord,
Swarmlord. Yeah.
19, 19, and 19 Gene Stealers, and a Tyrannocyte.
Yep. So he's got a Swarmlord in the Tyrannocyte. Just, I guess he'd started on the table if he wasn't afraid of it dying. But I guess he was a bit afraid of it dying this game, so he chucked into the Tyrannocyte. He's dropped it down, and he's going to be slingshotting a unit of. It doesn't even need to slingshot anything in this turn. I'm actually curious as to why he dropped it then. That's interesting.
Maybe just to get it on the
Alright,
table
so I'm going
and
to do
get
some
it active for
absolute
future
magic
turns.
here with technology.
Yeah, that's true. Absolutely. Okay.
We're swapping back.
We're swapping back. We're swapping back, guys. One sec.
So I am a bit of a wizard sometimes with just having like millions of devices is just generally my way of getting away with shit.
So I've just been asked a question. Hey Adam, do you think a wet shirt competition with the commentators would boost numbers?
I think it would increase
Yes.
numbers. Unfortunately, it breaks the Twitch
terms of
guidelines.
service, yeah.
So yes, it is stinking hot here, and if we weren't on Twitch, like, there are a number of players here. Probably shouldn't because, well,
What
no,
will we
let's
do?
not judge. Let's not judge. But are just going topless right now.
I'd be pretty tempted.
But unfortunately, if we wanted to do that, we would be breaking Twitch rules.
So yeah, how could I?
You'll be hearing it through one of your ears in a second.
Fantastic! Cannot wait to hear you, gentlemen.
All right, we're gonna be doing magic. I hope, unless I've absolutely screwed something up. Which, you know what, that happens, but not today. All right, mute that.
All right, babies.
Let's see how this magic goes.
Looks like we are into a charge
yeah.
phase. That is a big
All
charge.
right, you're gonna. this is how good we are.
Wow.
This is how good we are. Chuck that in there, I reckon. We'll just put that back there. So can you hear me come through there as well?
Yeah, I can.
All right. Sick technology for the win.
Now, Peter, Sean, can you guys hear me?
I think I'm hearing you through Josh.
Oh,
Let's try this way. Try now.
can you guys hear me? Hello.
Now I can hear you. You're beautiful.
Hello, boys. How are we doing?
All right, so he's got 2 mics going at the once. Look, we'll get there with some of this tech. But hey, what are we meant to do when there's just a table full of almonds? Okay, so we are currently sitting at the bottom of turn 2. They're just checking what the hell's going on. But let's, while they're doing that, we're just going to jump into stats for a second.
That's what the people are here for.
Hey, you know what? Sorry, you know what we should do? is introduce Sean, Abuse Puppy Morgan, because he did join, and I think
He did.
people have just heard him mumbling to himself.
Oh, he has joined, has he?
A little
Apologies.
mumbling.
I must have
Yeah, I'm in here.
Yes, so Sean, if you could introduce yourself to the people who live under rocks and don't know the Abuse Puppy, and where they might find more of the Abuse Puppy.
Well, I mostly write for Frontline Gaming these days. I do a lot of Codex review articles and some other stuff from them. Some of the Down Under listeners and viewers may remember me. I also used to write for 3++ The New Black. I still do that occasionally. I am also part of a couple different podcasts, both Chapter Tactics and my new podcast, In the Finest Hour.
And the finest hour is going off, isn't it?
Yeah, we've gotten a lot of listeners, a lot of folks subscribing these days. I'm really glad that folks are enjoying the content we're putting out. We try and do a lot of sort of focused competitive content. We pick one subject at a time and really hammer down on it and try to create a concise, pretty specific episodes that each teach you one thing.
Like it's a boiled down, condensed ball of information. I actually think it's really quite unique.
Yeah, and quite exceptional. I've really enjoyed the episode so far.
Well, thank you.
All right, but on to what we're here for.
Yes.
Stats time.
Stats time.
Stats time.
I'm a stat man. All right, cool. That's enough of that. Okay. Not like this. So we will start with. You know what? Let's start with the stuff that you just can't find anywhere.
Hit us.
All right. So let's go with that because that to me seems like the way to go. So we have a grand total of 270 games. 270 games? No, that doesn't sound right. 101 games. Yeah.
101 games?
Yeah.
No, you have 270, but it would technically be what 135 actual
yeah.
games,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
Just
potentially,
doubling.
we're very certain that some of these score sheets have not been entered, or more specifically, have not been handed up. So we are, rather than guess what those scores are, we will import them to a point so they won't affect trends that we don't know the data for. So we can still put in their win-loss scores, and that will give us the faction win-loss percentages, but we won't know who went first, we won't know what secondaries they selected. The TOs have been were meant to be a lot stricter this round, or round 2, on those scores being submitted, but we'll find out what's missing and we'll crack the whip. So of the 101 score sheets, no, apologies, that's 101 score sheets, we know who went first.
Nice.
Okay, of those, it's only a 48%. Technically, from the results we have, you're more likely to win going second.
So 52% of the games, of that 102 games, won from going second.
Yeah. So basically what we're seeing is there is no trend overall, but when you start looking at specific factions, that starts to change a little bit.
So I would like to say something right now, though. So when the ITC launched their missions, their new branded missions, they said they were geared to favour the person going second. And even if they haven't favoured them, they've at least got us to parity.
Look,
which
I think
stupendous.
the goal of any mission and any stable meta is the average should really see a no benefit of first or second.
Yeah. What do you guys think?
I think that missions in general will typically favor the second player just a little bit, just because of the nature of scoring and because sort of firepower and other things favor the first player. And that's typically what we've seen in past seasons, that there is a small but noticeable percentage where the second player has an advantage. But it's usually not big. Like you see that 2 to 5%.
Yeah.
What about you, Peter? What do you think?
No, I'm in 100% agreement, right? Like Sean said, there is a certain benefit to going first in that you kind of try to overwhelm your opponent, which is why you often with ITC you see they will try to push the narrative of the missions to going second. Like I'm basically copying exactly everything he said with different words, but so it doesn't surprise me that you're seeing this like 48 to 52 kind of win percentage, just because that's the nature of the beast we're at now. I think it's very healthy, like Josh said, to have something like this. I mean, not to give Sean too big of a hand job here, but they did just do an episode of The Finest Hour completely devoted to whether you should go first or second.
Yep.
And it's very apparent here that it's an important choice.
Yes, it's not so much that going first and second are the same. It's that there are advantages and disadvantages to both, and some armies will want some, and some will want the other.
Well, I'm just
100% agree with that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, all right.
So I mean, do you want? Well, I guess the stats there were across all the games that we have across all factions. I guess the interesting ones, I guess, come back to Sean's point there, is where you see the biggest variance between the percentage by the faction. So I mean, for example, Death Guard, we've got 7 games where they went first. They won 2 of them, so 29%, and 7 games where they went second, and they won 5 of them. So Death Guard were more likely to win going second than first.
And is that indicative of them being a resilience-based army rather than a front-loaded offensive tower-based
I would
army?
argue that an army that can weather a first-turn alpha strike, quote-unquote, is going to do better second, because, of course, a lot of these end-of-turn scoring, end-of-battle-round scoring mechanisms favour that. On the flip side, if I try and find the counter to that with enough actual scores of relevance, Death Guard Knights are pretty much even across, going first or second.
Tau might be my suggestion for an army that favors first.
Absolutely right.
Guard would be the other one. Is gun lines tend to have the biggest. Thousand Suns surprisingly as well, because they often need to put their buffs up to be effective.
Yeah. So Tau, for example, we're out of the games that we know who went first. We have a total of 9 games we know who went first with Tau included. 6 of those Tau went first, and they got an 83% win rate, so they only lost once. But then they only went second 3 times, and they only lost once. So the percentage looks worse for going first for Tau, but we don't have enough data in just the 2 rounds. I think when you come, so I mean, what I'm really interested to see is looking at these stats after just 2 rounds of results, and seeing how they fit to what we believe we know about the meta.
Yeah, our preconceived
notions. And then come, round, once we've got 5 rounds of data, when we're streaming round 6, then looking at that same, now much larger pool of data and going, well, all right, cool. Tau lost 2 games, all right, out of however many in the first 2 rounds. So, of course, your win percentage is, it's going to be good regardless.
Wait. Tau only lost 2 games out of the first
out of the ones we knew who went first. They lost. So Tau got we had 14 games of Tau. 9 of those we knew who went first.
Okay.
Most of the issues with knowing who went first or second was in the first round. The second round, the numbers are a lot more accurate because as the scores were being handed into the TOs were insisting that they were double checking these additional things.
Yep.
So for those that are either just joining us on the stream or curious to know what's going on, so the player briefing mission at the start, the TOs at Cancon openly said this, and I agree with the statement. I don't know if it's a good starting opening brief. It was basically, we don't trust you to enter the right data. They had across not just Cancon last year, but other events they've run. There was one game that was like 38 to 32, or something like that, like a score that you actually can't get, a score you can't physically get. And then there were other scores, and I can't remember the exact number, but like 2 mates played and it was like the 42 to, is it 22? Or is it 24, the highest amount of points you can get while still losing?
Okay.
I think you can max the loss slightly higher than that. We sat down and mapped it out, but it requires stupid things like both players getting the bonus point
points.
every
Exactly,
turn,
yeah.
which is just impossible.
Exactly right. So what's another... Oh, sorry, give us a guard.
Astra Militarum, they...
Oh, sorry, one sec. So Targs, we did not deploy... Sorry, did we not record what type of deployment they had? We didn't.
No.
Yeah.
No, so we don't know. So what the juggling act we've got so far, there's already data that that should have been easy of like just tick a damn box or enter a damn number that isn't getting entered. We made the decision not to put deployments on the paper score sheets, whereas it is tracked in Down Under Pairings, so we do know that data. It's just we don't have it for these results. It's tough because what we ended up, and also that being said, if that's one extra thing we have to manually enter, we had multiple laptops going, data monkeys. I had to give away free Down Under Network hats to get people to do data entry for us. So Astra Militarum, at the moment, the stats I've got on predefined reports, and maybe tonight or after this, we'll have some more detailed questions, and tonight we'll have some reports ready to run for tomorrow. But we've got just the 9 games of Astra Militarum Primary, and of those, we actually know the first and second person of all 9 of those games, and they're a 33% win rate. Flat across the board. Doesn't matter if they're first or second. So if they went first, they won 3, lost 1. If they went second, maybe we've got more than 9 here. Anyway, if they went second, they won 6 and lost 2. So
Okay.
Those numbers add up. So guard primary for starters are losing. And it doesn't matter, and they're losing at the same rate as first and second.
Wow, that's interesting.
Do you happen to have the data offhand? How many of those guard lists included a knight?
I do have that information, I believe.
If I was to have a guess, I would say all to most.
Okay, because that is typically my
have that
experience
data.
in tournaments.
I don't
do you,
actually.
Peter?
I do have the data. I don't have a predefined report for that exact one. So what we're going to do is we're going to find a pen. I'm going to actually write down some of these questions the old-fashioned way, and then for tomorrow's stream, we're going to have, now that we've got some data, we can go, all right, well that trend doesn't make sense. And we can interrogate that a bit more. So what we've got is, as I said, predefined reports, so we can just go bang, look, answer these questions. But yes, we do have the data on how many of those had knights. Unfortunately, it's just not a report ready to rumble.
Sure, we're still kind of in the thick of things.
Looking briefly through my list, because I did copy all the list data down.
Yep.
It looks like there were 3, 4. This is a quick look, by the way, guys. Sorry, to not be super definitive, but I believe there's 4 lists that are primary guard with a knight. There's a lot more that are primary knight with guard.
A lot more
Yeah.
than I thought.
I've got in my stats 8 primary Astra Militarum detachments. Of those, and 35 secondary detachments. Guard is in 33 lists.
There's a lot of secondary guards here.
Yeah, it was actually quite
What a
interesting to
shock.
see.
Right?
Knowing how many points per faction as well was just a nice, interesting stat. I don't think it actually shows too much. But when you take out the factions that are mono faction, so that the most number of points of any one faction at Cancon is Tau with 49,992 points. But they're mono faction armies.
Exactly.
So you expect them to be high.
But the second most one is very surprising.
The second highest one,
I want
yeah.
these guys to see if they can guess it. Try and guess what the second
They've
highest
got
is.
access to the same reports we
Oh,
do,
God
so
damn
let's see if they can guess it without looking.
Let's see if they can look at the report.
Yeah, let's see if they can look. Impress me.
If I were to guess, I would probably say, I mean, Tyranids or Knights.
It's actually
I thought it was
But-
Drukhari.
It's actually Dark Elder.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're not a
I-
hell of a
I-
lot behind Tau, are they? So
Um,
Tau's at 49,000. Drukhari's at 42, I think.
Yeah, I'll have to double check some of the numbers. But yeah,
I think
I
you
mean,
need to-
we also
yeah, I
take
would-
into consideration Yunari detachments weren't included in that as well. Even the Yunari detachments that were like Drukhari detachments with your brand.
I don't think there are any Yunari detachments with Drukhari in them,
Okay.
so that may not factor into it at
Yeah.
all.
You may need to double check your numbers too, yeah, because I think there's a couple of those that don't make too much sense. Like there's 10
Yeah.
Tau lists, so they should top out at about 20,000 points. Still, probably excessive, but
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? There's a good chance
it's probably
that's just
double,
doubling.
duplicating something
Yeah.
there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Counting
haven't.
twice somehow.
Yeah, well, this is the thing with trialing something completely new and different with the first live on stream.
I feel you, because when I started 40K stats, there were several times I would upload a thing and then look at it and be like, "There's no way these numbers are possible." I'm gonna have to go back and.
Well, Tau have 10 lists.
And 52,000.
No, and 48,000. No, like basically, in a
Yeah,
nutshell, it looks
so
like
they're
they're
cheating.
just doubling.
Cheating.
Yeah, they're just straight up playing
They're taking
Apocalypse.
4,000 points.
No wonder they're winning.
Or maybe they're cheating. Maybe that's
Yeah, there's just this one guy.
guy bringing the triple
40,000
town on
points.
list.
Yeah.
So what are some
I do
things you
think
guys
we
have seen,
should,
guys? Have you guys had a good look at the document? Anything jumping out to you?
I'm really interested in the secondaries.
Tell us more,
That's.
Are there any?
well,
are there any
we
ones
were
that
kind of
jumped
briefly
out
talking
as,
about it earlier.
Are there any ones that jumped out as interesting to you?
Well, it's what I was saying to Adam earlier when you guys had only the one round of data. Now that you have 2 full rounds of data in there,
Yep.
it's still kind of it's representing what I expected, and that's just fine. Like old school being the most popular secondary to be picked is kind of what is what I feel is the norm, but also it being like the second least effective is what I also expected. As Adam and I were saying, it's kind of like the crutch pick when you don't know what else to pick, or when you're kind of new to the ITC format. It's well, I've played regular GW games before, so I kind of understand this one, so I'll pick it. But it doesn't score very well. Like they're averaging 2.33. The only thing that is averaging less is ground control. The most new.
So bad.
That's so
Yeah.
bad. So I just want to.
And it's only barely losing. Ground control is only barely below it. So.
They need to rename old school. That's the greatest word in the English language. Default.
Yeah,
Yes.
default.
Well, all right.
And-
So if you've got a bad matchup, all right, against someone like you're not going to get Reaper, you're not going to get this, that, and the other, and you all right, I can get Linebreaker, or you know what, I reckon I can get First Blood and then probably get smashed. Like you're right. Most of the ones that got, I mean, this is showing an average. What I'd be interested, and we can look at this in more detail, is of the games that won, what is the average, and of the games that lost, what is the average? All right,
Yeah.
because if you I would bet that most of the ones that you were entering as zeros, they lost the game, and it was like they picked whatever it didn't matter. They could have literally picked the secondaries with their eyes closed because they were probably going to lose anyway. Whereas the ones that are winning with old school are probably getting like 3s and 4s.
Yeah.
We have the data. We can suss that out. Write that shit down.
What was that?
Secondaries
Yeah, that's
by
something
winners,
that we-
secondaries by losers.
Looking at like how Titan Slayer is the most successful at a tournament with as many knights as you guys have, like that doesn't shock me at all. Like you kill 2 knights and you're maxed your points there. So
Yep.
I mean, you don't even need to kill 2. You kill 1 and wound a second one, and
Exactly.
you're maxing it.
Yeah, exactly.
so that's relatively
one-
simple. Sorry, go ahead, John.
Oh no, it's just I was looking at the chat, and a couple of the players have brought up stuff. A lot of people don't like old school. They think it is a bad secondary. I don't think that's strictly true, but it's one people pick too often.
Yeah.
Many armies should not be picking it when they do. but it does have the advantage of being a solid 2-pointer. You can almost always get 2 points out of it. You will very rarely get 4.
Yep, I agree. Also, I mean, it was an interesting. I don't think we'll do it. Interesting chat comment come through from Ben. Insert pun here, 254. So also interesting to see if there's any correlation between picking old school and skill. So like player rankings and things like that. I don't think it's easy to know that right now, but potentially like post event, going well. All right, of the top 10% of the field, what do these stats look like?
Yeah.
All right, because they're, I would argue they are meta-defining players, and then, then start looking at what are the bottom 10% of the field doing. Because I think it's when this sort of data, I think there's just so many questions that, I'm just interested to see, and also whether or not that, when people start knowing this, like if we put out this massive article, I mean, all right, so if we followed on from Sean's podcast in the finest hour, based around the going first, going second, and you're like, all right, cool. Of the lists that were suggested to go first, those lists at Cancon, what sort of percent rate did they get? Versus the one, start like, and then go, if people, I've seen articles on, people going through what's the best secondary to pick, all those sorts of things. Being able to now go, all right, well, Josh just made this wild accusation about the meta with absolutely nothing to back it up. Let's quiz him on it. All right, and I would be interested to see if things like this change it by the fact that we're tracking it. So if people start looking at these and go, "Jam, I've been choosing old school all this time, and it's a bad choice," or "I'm guard and I've been choosing second all the time, and I should be choosing first." Like these sort of like having stats which people can now put their own spin on, and does it change the way they play, and does that change the meta? Does that, like, just by having the information, does it change the way people play?
Yeah, well, I think that's a very interesting point to things, is as the game evolves here, the information available to the players evolves, and that does certainly alter their perceptions and their choices to some degree. But it's really interesting to see how services like Down Under Pairings, the ITC, 40K stats that Peter here runs, stuff like that, changes the way players behave and the choices they make.
Absolutely. I think the end game here is having stats influence those choices, stats influence meta choices, and direction the whole game goes. I think it can influence everything.
Think about sports.
Yeah.
All right, because I mean that's what we're talking about here.
Sorry, it was just making a pleasure sound.
Just think about like sports, and like, all right, just before a massive final of some sort. All right, the teams they look at previous games of their opponents.
Yep.
All right, this is the kind of data we've had actually for quite some time across a couple of different systems. We've been able to see their rankings and so on, their tournament results. But now we can, like, I'm not sure how much of this data. Look, I think this sort of data to a point should be public. Maybe not the turns completed, because that's a bit more controversial. Yeah. But things like, all right, this guy always chooses old school when he plays against Drakari, or like, whatever. Like that kind of stuff. I mean, name a sport which doesn't have that kind of in-depth analysis available to them. Yeah. If we want 40K to be e-sport-esque, I know it's not really esports because you're not on a computer per se, but it's close to it. Then we want to get closer to that sort of mindset. This sort of data is, I think, just damn awesome.
Back to the data, actually. What's some more interesting stuff? Extrapolate.
Some more.
Yeah.
I can say if you look at primary points, Jeremy Mandingo Mankini, whatever his last name is,
Marigold.
Obviously,
so good, man.
Obviously destroying everybody, because I think he is the Death Watch player that is essentially maxing primaries in both of his games, or it looks like he came damn close.
Yep.
Chaos Demons sitting at almost 20 it kind of reflects what we were talking about earlier as well with the caliber of the Australian Chaos Demon contingent.
Yep.
It is.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
we've got
I was a little bit surprised to see that.
of the Chaos Demons.
Well, we've been
So the
preaching
Chaos,
for
the
ages.
Chaos Demons, all right, so they're not all playing the same method, but I can tell you now, this is the most common way the Chaos Demons play in Australia. A lot of them it's a horde, okay? Most of them have Plague Bearers. I'd be interested just how many of those have the Nurgle Tree. What they do is turn one, they advance their Plague Bearers to the middle of the table, all right? They're sitting on all the objectives, and they're basically saying, hey, I'm getting hold more for this game. All right, I'm getting 6 turns of hold more. Come get some. And then they're dropping with bombs. All right, so they're dropping with like horror bombs. When a horror bomb drops, it kills a unit every time. When a bloodletter bomb drops, it pretty much kills a unit. It varies, but depending on what you're coming up against. So a lot of these bombs come down, and they usually point up or at least trade from a kill point. You're getting kill 1, probably kill more most turns, as we can see by these primaries. Yeah, I think it's just an interesting archetype. But one of the other interesting things is players are meant to be saying how many turns they got, but the score sheets, what they're doing, and I've seen it in a number of games. I've seen them basically talk out their last few turns. I'm not against that in theory. I mean, it's not too different from tabling someone, but the amount of demons lists that I think are getting top points in those final turns, just surprised me a bit.
Chaos Demons can score pretty well, but especially the Nurgle lists will struggle to have the output against some kinds of armies.
Yep.
In the US, we've actually seen them almost drop the Nurgle tree entirely, which I'm not sure what you guys are seeing in Australia, but they pretty much dropped it because it eats an entire detachment by itself, which is very problematic when you need those detachments for other things. So we've mostly seen it replaced by the Thousand Sun Smite detachment to give you a little bit of extra firepower.
Yeah, and that's certainly an archetype we see here as well. Like Matt Morrisoli, who hasn't dropped a game yet, has been powering through people with that list.
Yeah, so high level, top list is 180 Plague Bearers, and they're on a 39 and a 37-point win. The second highest Demons list is double Zangor Bomb, Bloodletter Bomb,
Horror Bomb.
All
the smites behind Plague Bearers.
All the smites behind Plague Bearers. So that's a mixed Zench detachment. That is a Thousand Suns detachment, and
a mixed Demons detachment.
And a mixed Demons detachment. And that's got the we're seeing very common the Corn Prince with the axe for the anti-knights.
Yep, that guy will kill a knight every single turn.
Sometimes 2.
So
if he gets lucky, yeah.
What's something really interesting that you guys wanted to know that these stats have told you a little bit about?
Go, Sean.
Sorry, I didn't quite catch the question. There's a little noise.
The question was, what questions did you have before, I guess, the event that these stats have answered? And I think just as important, which ones have gone unanswered? Yeah.
I think the one that's at least surprises me the much, I'm not sure it's so much of a question, but the really poor performances of Yannari overall, it seems. Maybe I'm just missing something, but it looks like the Yannari players have not done particularly well at this event.
Look, I think
interestingly,
Yannari's well, we've got second and third place currently is Yannari.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe I just missed that when I was browsing through.
I think what you're talking about is their skewed list. Like there's some Yannari very much down the bottom.
Yeah, so Yannari's number 2 and 3, and then 39.
And 48.
Yeah, and so like it's 2 Yannari lists have won 2 games, and then other than that, the win ratio for Yannari is 43%. So you're right that it doesn't, half the Yannari games or more than half the Yannari games are losing. but two of those players account for 4 out of the 6 wins.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
And I
It's
think
just-
that's.
it's-
Sorry,
go ahead.
Joe.
No, no.
Go ahead. You talk. I'm Canadian. I win.
Okay, I was just gonna say that it's certainly there are Ynnari can lose. They're not an unbeatable army, but at least from the stats that I've seen and my experience has been that Ynnari players tend to separate towards the top even after just like the first round. You don't see a lot of Ynnari players in low places, and I would be very interested to see when that demon army runs up against the Ynnari, because typically I see that is a very bad matchup for demons.
Just got to Josh back to this game for
just for us. Yeah, we'll jump back to the current game. So we've
So-
got the Nid player is really boxing the Dark Angel player in.
But
It's,
in the saying that, the Dark Angel player has done a very good job of defending his characters, defending his backfield. He's almost made this little impenetrable box. He's picked up 1 unit of Gene Steals completely, and looks like he's got a second one down to about half left. Now we are in the. Looks like we're going to be in the bottom of turn.
we are
3
bottom
now.
of turn 3. Yep.
Yep. And so it's just the start of the Dark Angel's turn, I believe. Or the Dark Angel go first?
No. Dark Edge went first, and we're currently sitting on bottom of turn 3 with Nids.
So it's 8-4 at the moment.
Yeah, so far, Dark Angels have held one, and then in their turn 3, they've completely pulled back. They're not holding anything, and they've killed one.
Yeah.
So
They can't stay like that. If
no.
another turn goes by with them like that, this game is over. He needs to break out.
Yep. In this current predicament, I can't see the Nid player losing. I mean, they're going to get for the next, probably this turn and the next 2, even if the repulsors start doing damage. All right, for the next 2 turns, he's going to get hold 1 and hold more.
Yeah.
And look, so he's just brought on a unit of
Rippers.
No, they're not Rippers, are they?
Oh, they're Gaunts then.
Gaunts, big Gaunts. Because and just boxed him in there.
Doesn't matter, they got fly, they can go over. But look, that'll be abandoning his backfield, which he kind of doesn't have a choice anymore. He needs in one turn to kill all the remaining Gene Stealers if he's going to have any hope of calling his back.
Yep. Yeah. So as far as secondaries are concerned, seeing as we've been talking about them, Carlos, the Dark Angel player, picked Reaper and hasn't got a Reaper point yet. With 3 turns, Kingslayer and Mark for Death, which he's got 1 point, and then the Nid player, who's only bottom of turn 3, partway through his turn, got Mark for Death, Kingslayer, and Recon, and so far he's got 1 point for Recon. So look, it's 8-4, but turn 2 for the Nid player got 5 points.
Yeah.
Turn 2 is big. Turn 2 is big.
As long as he stays like that, he's going to keep getting 5 points.
Yep.
Do we happen to know which units he marked for death?
I would have to assume it'd be the repulsors.
Yes, it was. I was there when it was that through.
As the Tyrannid player, actually probably would not have taken marked for death on them because they are surprisingly difficult to get rid of.
No, he did.
Yeah.
I was over at the table when we were talking through secondaries, and so basically what we're doing for the top stream, we're going to give away some of our tech ideas for those that like to do their own streaming of their events. So we normally would use Down Under Pairings to live track the scores, but what we've done for this is we've done a Google Sheet. So a Google Sheet, one sheet has the ITC score sheet, and a second tab on that has boxes that it's pointing to, mainly the totals. So basically, as they enter something, the Google and I'm screen sharing my Google Sheet version. So basically, even without any real technology, if you've got an iPad, an iPhone, or something like that, and you've got the Sheets app, mate, you can get away with that pretty easy. We're providing the iPad. They don't get to keep it. They do not get to keep it. But yeah, we're trying to. Our goal is to be I'd say 3 to 4 table lengths away from the table.
So they have no chance of hearing
So
us.
they have no chance of hearing us? Because we had our very first stream, we were way too close.
Way too close.
There was one of the games got very heated, and we were whispering into our microphones because we're like, oh, hey guys,
He shouldn't have done that.
It's getting
bad
pretty
idea.
heated.
Yeah. Look, insert pun here. Why hasn't he done more damage? It's probably because the units he's got in his face have catalyst on them, and he's probably put the horror on one of those repulsors. So one of the repulsors is -1 to hit, and then whatever they're shooting at has got a 5 up. So look.
Also, turn one, he had no real targets.
Yeah.
And so he's had two turns of shooting, and in his second turn, he didn't kill anything, and his third turn, he finally killed something. But keeping in mind, in his second turn, he backed back.
Yeah.
And his third turn, he backed back again.
Can you circle that model?
The Bibles, I sure can.
No, not the Bibles. So we've got 3 characters here, yeah? Circle those 3. One of those is a Malin throw. I think it's the middle one. And so most of those Gene Stealers have had -1 to hit on them as well.
Yep.
Yeah, Malin throws are incredibly powerful at discouraging shooting armies.
Very, very good, man. Back to stats time.
Yep.
I would like to know what you guys are predicting from the stats that you've seen.
What are we predicting in terms of what?
Who's going to do well? Who's going to win? What factions are dominant and will continue to be? Or do you think they'll drop off based on what is also dominant at the same time?
Well, actually, I'll add to that question. So, I mean, one of the points made, or has been made a number of times, is the first couple of rounds, especially in an event this size, stats can be all out of whack because you get, I'm going to say medium strength to even scrubs, playing against other medium strength level players to scrubs, and getting wins.
Yep.
All right, so in an 8-round event, 140-ish players. The actual number is 140, 1, 2, 3, 4, I think 145 players. Out of 145 players, a bunch of the guys that won the first round might even win the second round, but then they start coming into people like Jeremy Martino, who's gone back-to-back here, Eric Lathuris, who I would argue has taken a bit of a break from some of the major events in 40K, but has not lost a tournament game in
6 months.
6 months with Tyranids.
That is ferocious.
So I mean, you get these players, and they suddenly come into the big boys, quote unquote. And although Eric is quite a tiny man,
there's a little Diddy Kong kind of dude. But we've just seen those. They've committed, so the Gene Stealers have committed to the repulsors. So that means, firstly, that means the repulsors can't stay there now. They have to break out.
Hold on. So here's what I reckon is either A, mistake from Tim, or B, we just haven't seen it yet. So what I would have done in Tim's place, obviously those repulsors have fly, right? We all know they have fly. They can just fall back out and do what they want. But he's boxed himself in. All right. So you should be able to, if I can bring up my little overlay again. All right. You should be able to charge these repulsors. All right. But basically, you want to take up that space. You can't fall back.
Because it can't land on the outside. And I'm thinking that's what he's trying to do with the second V.
Yeah.
With the Gaunt.
I think he's powered in too much with the Steelers. I would have conceded not doing much damage in my assault phase. And then but taking up space, boxing him in, and then then in his turn pile in, do as much as I can with the Steelers. And then once again just start taking up space. Because what are the repulsors going to do in combat?
Nothing.
Against Steelers? I mean, they're not as bad as a Rhino, but like how many attacks does repulsor have?
I think they got 6, same as the Land Raider.
Same as the Land Raider, right?
But hitting on 6s, strength 8.
Yeah. So that's like that's horrible.
Boxing yourself in like that for a shooting army against a horde list is very risky. You can really put yourself in a bad situation, like you said, by just leaving yourself unable to fall back.
Yep.
I think he will be able to fall back though. But
Look,
I
think the fact that he's done this the way he has, I think he can fall back, because what you'll be able to do, this guy can move, then this guy can move, then this guy can move.
But think about this, yeah. There's 24. Those guns have 24 inches on them.
Yeah.
Falling back in that direction does not get them any range on that big unit of untouched. Yep. So that's what he's done. He said, "Oh, you can fall back, and I'll give you this unit here, but you're breaking up your formation, and this last unit is going to absolutely gut you."
Yeah, I personally would have. I personally still would have gone with the just win the game.
I think he already has though.
It depends on whether he's confident he can do that. The way the speeders and the repulsors are arranged, it may be possible for him to do a sort of successive fallback, because
exactly.
the speeder moves up, the repulsor moves up, and he basically folds his castle northward.
Yeah.
And the Tyranid player can't let him do that, because at that point he just loses all those Gene Stealers for nothing.
No
yeah,
return.
But also, I mean, right now, the Dark Angel player, could potentially, these guys here, these Stealers, don't have that. They can't now take up this space. All right. So, like, this guy can go here. This guy can go here. The guard can then spread along the line. This guy can go back, and he hasn't really broken his castle. All right.
No.
Well, he's just going to flatten it out.
Flatten it out.
But at this point, he's buying time.
Yeah.
He doesn't need to break the castle. He just needs to keep him occupied and focused on those Gene Stealers for another 2 turns. If he does that, he wins the game.
All right. But do you not think that if in here, so right now we're at bottom of turn 3, we're about to go into turn 4. If you had it that those repulsors in turn 4 could not fall back, which you could have done, they couldn't fall back. They had to stay there. They can't shoot. So, like, compared to letting him fall back and shoot.
No, I agree.
I would rather box him out and win the game.
Well, yeah. I think what you're suggesting takes an enormous amount of finesse and precision with what looks like 15 Gene Stealers.
The thing is, there is another block of Gene Stealers behind them that could have gotten Swarm Lorded forward, I presume.
Yeah.
40 Gene Stealers should
Here's
absolutely
the fallback, guys.
trap that.
Yeah. I mean, look, I think we're kind of debating semantics.
Yeah.
I think Tim's won this game. I just feel there is a potential that Tim is now not going to get a couple of points, all right, that he would have got if he had played a little smarter in that assault phase. But that being said, Tim's done a great job. He's boxed him in. So I think we are talking about, a couple of victory points more, maybe, at the end of the game. But either way, Tim's done enough to get the win, in my opinion.
Well, so has he just got a loyal 32 behind those repulsors?
Yeah. Well, technically it's a loyal 29 because there's mortars, but yeah.
So, honestly, so you're using...
and sorry, they're not all still alive.
So wait a sec, let me get this right. So you're using...
3 repulsors.
900 points of repulsors to protect 160 points worth of guardsmen.
I think his argument, though, I think the Dark Angel player's argument would be, like we can just see here, he didn't kill anything.
It doesn't matter.
And also, it's not about protecting the guardsmen. It's about making it so that you cannot lock the guardsmen in combat. Because if he try points one of those squads of guardsmen, it doesn't matter that the guardsmen are surviving. Those Gene Stealers become unkillable.
Well, I'm of the opinion that screw the guardsmen, push your repulsors right into the guts of the opponent's army rather than boxing yourself in the back line.
Swarm Lord eats one.
And maybe you change the status quo of this game. Because nothing he's doing right now is doing anything that's going to make any difference.
But I think Tim has enough models of Gaunts and Gene Stealers to protect his Swarm Lord.
Yeah.
And his Swarm Lord will just eat one.
That's fine.
And then eat one, and then eat one.
He's losing anyway.
Agreed.
Look, shit against the wall. Maybe
you're right. I think I think we're all on the same page. That Tim's going to win this game. So the Nids are going to win this game on the current state of the game, and potentially even before the game started. I mean, if you looked at lists, I think we're now just arguing semantics over who could get a few more points here and there.
So the scores just come in, and it's now 12-5 in the Nids' favour.
Yeah.
And that's
there's no way he's not gonna make that up in a couple turns.
No. So, and especially not with that move.
Like in that turn one when he had two of the repulsors on top of that building.
Yeah.
I honestly think if he just dropped the third one on top instead of backing off, he could have made it so those June Stealers couldn't fit, so they're not ever going to get in close combat with him. And I think he has a much better chance of shooting down into that. Maybe he's.
Exactly right.
I guess his thought is that he's protecting from getting kill more by protecting his guardsmen in the back. But I think he had a much better chance with that better vantage point. So
Yeah, I would agree. It's honestly, I don't like the triple repulsor list. I know it's in okay some places, but I think it's a little bit gimmicky, and especially not running Guilliman with it for that reroll wounds really slows it down.
Yeah, so
Yeah, it's
basically
really-
he's got Azzy for reroll
Hits
hits
and full
and a lieutenant for reroll ones. So it's not,
Yeah.
it's a baby Gilliman.
Yeah, you've got the discount version, but
Yeah,
the difference between
discount
reroll
version.
one and reroll all is pretty huge.
Oh, what? Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. You're not going to discriminate there. Yeah, but also, I mean, as far as detachments go, you don't have to waste a detachment for Gilliman. I mean, how many lists that have Gilliman? It's just Gilliman in a super heavy Ogs. I
Yeah,
think when it first came out, when I first started seeing Gilliman lists, he was more in the Supreme Command detachment, and you had a couple more characters in there, and then people just stopped taking the characters.
Well, that's when you can mix that detachment. So you could take any Imperium guys in that Supreme Command.
Oh yeah, people were taking Primaris
Yeah.
and
So
things
of
like
course
that.
you can
Yeah,
do whatever you want.
or you'd see like 2 knights on Gilliman.
yeah.
yeah.
So back to stats.
Yeah.
Hit me with something cool, somebody.
All right, let's go with. All right, let's go with games to time. So I'm actually. We weren't clear enough, I think, in the player brief for this. So going back to my previous statement, basically, if players were running out of time, I believe they were talking through their remaining turns. I've seen a couple of tables do that and still complete the full score sheet and say they got 6 turns. Others were doing it right and saying no, we only got 4 turns or whatever. So I'm not happy. I don't agree with the stats, but basically 83% of the games allegedly are finishing with a 5.6 average turn, which is really good. I like those numbers are what I would like to see. I don't believe them. One bit.
Yeah.
Like,
It's-
I
I
mean, so
mean-
the Chaos Demons, I put to you now that there's no way, no way that all 14 games of the Chaos Demons, which are pretty much all Chaos Demon Horde, all got 6 turns, which is what the stats show. Like, it did not happen. It did not happen.
Yeah, I would be pretty skeptical of anything where, 100% of something went a particular way.
Yeah.
But it's like, I mean, realistically speaking, Chaos Demons is not one of the slowest armies out there because a lot of armies are just very reluctant to engage it in combat.
That's very true.
So your turn actually ends up being very short most of the time. It's like you cast Smite 5 times, put 2 buff spells down, and call it a day.
Yeah.
So who had the least amount of games completed? What faction?
Do you want percentage or actual numbers? Go with percentage.
Percentage.
Well, Space Wolves, but we've got 8 games and they've only finished 50% of them, average of 4.75. The worst result with a reasonable number of games is Death Guard. They've got 20 games, they've only finished 12 of them, so there's 60% there, and they average 5.05. But as I said before, unfortunately, I was really hoping to see some smoking guns here, like we saw with the 8-fold path. So the 8-fold path used Down Under Pairings to track the scores and the turns, and people put in they put in the right turns, and yeah, we saw horrible numbers, and those players, a large portion of them, are here this week.
That's true.
And suddenly they're all getting 6-turn games.
Yeah, that's true.
I call BS.
Yeah, it's the fallacy of self-reporting.
Yeah.
And also specifically having a punishment for self-reporting that does not meet a certain threshold. I think that's a natural response to that. Like, that is what you will get.
So just
here's the fix to that. All right. At least so having in-app scoring, not at end of game, but during the game. So instead of filling out a piece of paper at the end of each game, you all right. So right now, our guys on the stream are entering their scores, albeit in a Google Sheet, but replace Google Sheet with app. All right, and we can track. We haven't been because I haven't thought about it until right now. But we could quite comfortably go, all right, cool, turn 1 took an hour, turn 2 took 45 minutes, and then suddenly turns 3 to 6, were all 5 minute or 1 minute or 5 seconds. So if you have to enter a score in an app, all right, and it tracks at the end of each turn, then you can go, all right, cool, up to turn 3, we believe you. All right, turn 4 is questionable. You did not play 6 turns.
Yeah.
And I guess here's the question I would kind of put you guys as running things is, do you want to discourage that? Obviously we want to play 6 real turns, but if the alternatives are talk out 2 of your turns or 3 of your turns versus don't finish the game, which of those is preferable?
I think for the player's point of view, it's definitely preferable to talk out the turns.
All right,
but from a stats and a health of the game point of view, we need to know where we're at.
All right, so there's 2 things here. All right, there's the enjoyment of the actual game itself, the people playing the game, and then there is, and so I would argue that most players want to play a full game.
Yeah.
Yeah, right, that's a fair assumption. All right, if you don't penalize people for not finishing their games, then people will still they won't speed up if they can just smash their opponent the first 2 turns and then just oh cool, the next 4 turns I haven't tabled you, but we're gonna say I got all these points. That kind of stuff. I don't like it. It gets to that point where you go, all right, for me, all right, let's say I've only got 2 turns done. I pushed their crap in. And I say, you know what, we're going to say we got to 6 turns, and then they start doing they give out the kill 1, hold 1, when they didn't earn them.
Yeah.
You're falsifying scores at that point, I guess is my argument.
I want to pause back to this game for a second, because the
I was about to say.
The status quo of this game has changed a little bit. So all the gaunts...
I'm not sure I'd say it's changed.
The nids are gone, the Tyrannocyte's gone, and that unit, the G-Stealer is half dead. Has anything changed, boys?
I think, and I would argue this is not a change. This is exactly what I was expecting.
I actually wasn't expecting to kill this much.
So we come back to me being right again. If he had boxed him in, this wouldn't have happened.
No, I think this is.
Stop throwing your
I think
nuts
this
at
is. I think this is Tim's plan. He expects to lose most of his functional models this turn, but if you'll notice, he is still going to get recon. He is still going to get hold more. He probably is, maybe doesn't get kill more, maybe even gives up kill more. But he's at least coming in about the same points per turn, and if he can just maintain parity for 2 turns, he wins easily.
Absolutely right. So apparently I am way too low.
No, you're pretty much on full ball.
Jack it up.
All right.
That's weird, because I have the better of our mics.
Yeah. Oh well. All right. So as far as the looking, Tim, we haven't been updated, but I'll update it right now. Tim is going into the bottom of turn 4. So Carlos that turn just got kill 1. Realistically, he's going to get kill more as well once the turn ends.
Did he get 2 kills there?
He got at least 3, because he got a unit of Steelers, Tyrannocyte, and Gaunts, and I think he wiped out the middle Gene Stealer unit. It's a little hard to tell.
Okay.
So what? Before Tim's movement phase, I think these guys here were underneath, so it did look like. We might get a quick hello. So Sean, are you watching the stream or just listening on Discord?
Yeah, no, I'm watching the stream.
All right. There we go. I'm not sure what the lag is there. So at some point, a face is going to show up the top right-hand corner. Anyway, it was Kirby from 3++.
Oh, hey, Curbs.
Yeah, so we've got Abuse Puppy. Yeah. You're a dick.
It hasn't changed in the past 10 years you've known me. No, Kirby and I are good
mind.
old friends.
It's
We made
actually
way back
very
in the day.
difficult to try and talk between. It's 2 PG. Was it 2 PG? No. All right. No, but no. Sean did call you some horrible names.
We're not allowed to repeat them on stream anymore, but yeah, some real racist stuff.
Some racist stuff, apparently. All right, we're gonna go back to the game.
Does the DA player have any librarians? I don't think so, right?
He did not. No. So the Dark Angel list is still up here. I'll go top.
I'm just curious about that spore placement. I think he could have done some really dickhead things with it. With the Wars.
Yeah, so the Dark Angel list had Primaris Lieutenant, Tech Marine, and Azzy as the HQ slots.
Yeah. Because you see where he's dropped the spores from the Biolivores in the top left. Depending on if he has any more, he probably could have spread them out a little better and basically kept Carlos in that corner just with those. But it'll be interesting.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure Tim's list saved a few points for the Sporefield.
Okay.
So if we go, I'm pretty sure if we double check Tim's Tyranid list.
100% he did.
Yeah.
But, so his list is Malanthrope, Neuranthrope, Rippers, 27 Gaunts, 30 Gaunts, 2 Biovores, 2 Biovores, 2 Biovores, Broodlord, Swarmlord, Triple Gene Steel Bombs,
and 60 points spare
for the Spore Mines,
for the Sporefield strat.
Okay.
I think we've just had the end. Yeah, we've just had the end of turn 4 into turn 5.
Yeah, so that turn, let's just update that bad boy. That turn, they haven't. All right, so look, basically both players should have another victory point each. They put in the hold one and the kill one. But so Tim didn't kill anything, and Carlos didn't hold anything. Yeah. So Tim should have hold more, and Carlos should have kill more. So those scores should be 15-9 rather than 14-8. But I mean, it's the same. And as far as secondaries, those are also not accurate by the looks of it, because Carlos has not put a single Reaper point down, whereas we know he's got probably 2 there.
Actually, probably 3.
Yeah, so I would say this game is a lot closer than the scorecard in the bottom right-hand corner of the stream is suggesting. So, as I said, secondaries-wise, I would expect by the end of this game, Carlos should have at least another 3, which puts him at 11. And so there's probably a 3-point variance right now, and Carlos still has all his repulsors. And I don't know what Tim has left to pressure him anymore.
So I'm thinking you should have advanced the repulsors. I think those back 2 repulsors are not in range of anything.
Yeah, all right, because I guess the fair point here is that Carlos has literally just got 2 more turns. Yeah. All right, he's probably out of range this turn.
So
You're right. He should advance, because all Tim needs to do is then move back again, and Carlos doesn't get kill 1 again. And then as far as Carlos is not getting Kingslayer. He's probably maxing out or close to maxing out Reaper. I don't know if he's going to get any more mark for death points. So look, I don't see Carlos scoring much more, but Tim, I would argue the exact same thing.
Yeah.
I think these scores are probably going to just hold one.
Literally the only thing Carlos can do here is advance up with those 2 repulsors and hope the third one's in range to pick up a kill this turn.
Yeah, but he's already up to the shooting phase.
Yeah, I know. So that would have meant that he's guaranteed to get kills next turn, which is what it could have done. Although he could be scared of the Broodlord and Stormlord coming out and munching whatever he's put up.
Yeah, he does need to be careful he doesn't get too close to that Repulsor, and the Swarmlord on turn 6 just moves himself up.
Yeah, exactly.
And double moves and charges and just eats a Repulsor. Because I'm pretty sure Repulsor was down as Mark for Death.
Exactly right.
Which it was. So, like, yeah, I think Tim's not going to score much turn 5, but if he's lucky, he'll get a big turn 6. Maybe. There's a lot of maybes here.
What do you guys think, guys?
No, I think you're dead on. Depends really how much shooting he's getting out of this front repulsor, really. Looks like he's doing a lot of rolling.
Yeah,
so he must be able to see something. But yeah, no, if he's not... Oh, he was shooting the spores in the back is what he was doing.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think at this point it's going to be like a 2 or maybe, probably 2 points per turn for both guys till the end of the game.
I'm gonna put a punt and say Tim ends on 21 or less points in this game, but he's still gonna win by about 4.
Yeah, he's not getting more than I don't think he's getting more than 21.
Where is Swarmlord? Is he hiding behind that tower there?
Which one? Swarming.
Right,
Yeah, so basically we've got a bunch of characters in here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a Swarmlord, there's a Broodlord, and all the characters.
Yeah.
But the Swarmlord, Broodlord are the ones that could potentially hop out and do some serious munching if he gets too close.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. If the repulsors do get it within a good range, then I think you just see Swarmlord slingshot in, and he'll take one of them out at least. He probably won't take out 2.
Yeah.
But
so here's the thing. Here's my thinking. Yeah, he's probably got 3 Reaper points, and he's probably not far off his 4th.
Yeah, that's fair to say.
I would say it's worth bum rushing a repulsor up.
Yeah, I believe he is
kill,
right behind the tower.
Yeah, getting a kill, capping your Reaper, and possibly getting a kill more in exchange for 1 repulsor.
Yep. How much? So with the repulsors, weapons, are they heavy or are they assault?
They ignore the penalties for shooting.
No, for advancing.
No, they're all heavy.
All right.
So
Ignore that then.
What were you saying, Sean? I interrupted you.
Yeah.
I think Sean's like a couple seconds behind us on the sound.
Give me a second to catch up.
Fair. Well, look, I think Tim's done I think he's done the right play in his turn 5. But I just feel as though in that turn where he charged the repulsors, he could have locked that game down. I think Tim will still get the win. But I just feel as though he could have just got a bigger win.
I actually don't think.
Yeah, it's a much closer game.
With only 15 Gene Stealers, I don't think it's feasible what you're asking.
To box.
Yeah, to box that far of the field.
Well, all right. Keep in mind, he had to box one. The end result had to be he couldn't move at least 1 repulsor. So there was on the left-hand side there was a repulsor here, here, and here. No, wait for it. They were boxed. They were touching those guardsmen and they were touching the Gene Stealers. So this model here, I don't think had enough room because you can't advance in your fallback. I don't think he had a big enough movement to clear fully the guardsmen and the Gene Stealers that were there. This guy probably could have. This guy probably could have. But this guy had no place to go. If he just boxed 1 in and remained locked, he'd still have his Gene Stealers.
You forget about how big the footprint of a repulsor is. As long as he can fall 1 back, he can fly 1 in to take the place of that one.
No, you can't, because they were boxed in.
No. So as long as you can move any of those 3, the entirety of the guardsman is smaller than the footprint of 1 repulsor. You move 1 repulsor, the guardsmen take the footprint of that one, and whichever one's blocked, take the footprint of the guardsman.
Yeah.
No matter what, I don't think you can do it.
That's the hard part. It's not impossible, but I don't think a single squad of Gene Stealers can do it.
I agree, Sean. I don't think
I think in a combination with the Termagants that were there, I think he had enough space. Because as I said before, I don't believe that you. I mean, the end result, he put all the Gene Stealers in and didn't kill one. All right. I think that was a logic. I didn't think they were going to kill one, so I wouldn't have even tried to kill it. Like, I would have just tapped.
Ditto.
I would have tapped all 3 of them with 1 Gene Stealer. All right. And then every other Gene Stealer model there was just there to take up space. It would have been my play. But once again, I mean, that's what you get when you get 4 people on a stream talking about one game, arguing semantics.
Well, I think it's good. I think it's good. No,
And another thing to keep in mind, for any of you who listen to Best in Faction, Colin has talked about this a number of times. Gene Stealers are very unforgiving. All it takes is one very small mistake for things to go south.
Absolutely, man.
100%.
Like, one cock up and you've lost a 250-point unit or whatever you are.
Yes, and one that normally carries the whole weight of your army.
Exactly.
The whole archetype of your army is built around this one unit doing so much work for you.
It's the reason why you frequently see, a Tyraniid list in the top 4 of like the majority of majors and GTs, but then like if you look at the bottom 10, there's 4 Tyraniid lists in the bottom 10.
Yep.
But oftentimes, like one of those guys in that bottom 10 were in the top 4 the last GT. It's just because he made that one mistake in that one round, and it just burned him for the rest of the tournament.
Yeah,
perfect.
Yeah, it's interesting to see. So Matt Morrisoli, who's on 2 wins so far, he hasn't won this round yet, has he?
No, I don't think so.
So Matt Morrisoli has been running a very similar list to what he's running this weekend, which is the double Zangor bomb. And this time round, he's put in the Khorne Demon Bomb as well, because and I've been to a number of events and we've streamed a number of them. He had all his losses were. Now you can argue you shouldn't be relying on this, but every single loss he failed a charge he should have made, and that's why he ended up putting in the Bloodletter Bomb, because they're going to make that charge. Whereas the Zangors, I would argue the Zangors kind of fit a similar archetype to these Steelers. They punch real hard, but boy howdy, they disappear real quick.
I would actually invert those two. I think Bloodletters are essentially Gene Stealers. They'll kill whatever they touch, but they'll die the moment something shoots at them. Zangors, especially well buffed, are actually very resilient. You give -1 to hit, +1 to invuln, fighting twice to just pile in all over stuff, and they will weather a surprising amount.
When they don't make the charge, I guess the reason why he put the Bloodletter Bomb in there, the discussions we've had with him, was because the games that he lost, he needed he needed that charge. He needed that 8-inch charge and failed it.
Sure.
And I that's a flaw in a list. If you literally go, all right, cool, I make this charge, I win, I lose, I fail this charge, I lose. Your list is probably not that great. If you're relying on that.
It could be a problem.
But and his argument is, and so far the results show it, because yes, he has won round.
He's won 35-13.
Yeah, so he's on 3 wins now. I'll be interested to chat with him tonight on whether or not the Bloodletter Bomb made a difference, and also how many charges he failed with those Zangors.
I mean, honestly, Zangors should be passing almost as many charges as those Bloodletters do, because with Gaze of Fate and a command point, you can get a full reroll on their charge distance.
It's the banner with the 3d6.
Sure.
Yeah,
the
3d6.
3d6 with no reroll, assuming you don't have another Khorne character nearby, is actually very similar odds to 2d6 with a full reroll.
Yeah, but I'll throw in 3d6 re-rolling one of those dice with a command point. I reckon I'd look. We could probably work out the odds. That's what spreadsheets.
You guys should fight.
We've got all these stats
Fight.
heads.
All right, cool. So is that the
Fight.
result? The winner of the fight is right. All right. So there's this YouTube channel I watch, non-40k stuff now. Anyway, it's called the Philip DeFranco Show. It's a US.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, he's got this shirt that he sells, and it's "Let's use our feelings as facts." Yeah, I feel as though there's a lot of things that gets just thrown out there as, yep, this is how it works. This unit kills this, or all that rubbish. And we're in an age where people are getting checked on that. We can actually say, no, mate, you're wrong.
Yeah, I love it. It's like it's kind of part of the whole reason why I started 40K Stats. It wasn't because I thought everybody was wrong. In fact, I believed most of the top players were right, and you see it in the stats, like it's reflective. But it's because we've been spending years in this game and in other kind of war games, just lamenting different random things because of our singular viewpoint.
Yeah.
Like this army's bad, or this army's good, or this will always win in this situation. So being able to pull out the numbers and be like, hey, yeah, you're right. That's exactly what happens. Or whoa, you're actually like quite wrong. It's just a good thing to be able to have.
Also, could you imagine if Games Workshop started looking at some of these stats when they start doing their points reviews for units?
Oh, they do. They absolutely do.
Well, they don't have the stats.
I've been told that they've actually started looking at like 40kstats.com and things like that.
Oh
Yes.
my God! Be still my
I have. I have on good word from a couple of play testers that GW has actually been paying attention to the work that you guys and Peter and some of the other stat guys have been doing.
Well, that's good to hear. I believe you when you say that they're listening to Peter because, hey, there's a lot of ITC-related stats in there, and the US has a bit more of a say when it comes to, I think, 40K. Whereas in Australia, we are the unloved stepchild.
The ugly baby.
Well,
Pushed down
it
the
just took
river.
you so long to get out of comp. If you had gotten out of the boat.
Yeah, but GW thinks comp is good, so maybe that's a point in their favor.
Oh yeah, it's true. And I'm sorry for saying that, chat. Don't come looking for me. It was a joke.
So funnily enough, the large. So all right. So this is Cancon is the largest. I would argue competitive events, and I'll come back to what I mean by that in a minute. But the largest 40K competitive event in Australia. I'm going to say this year is the largest ever at 145 players.
That's big.
That's big. All right. Now our largest event, and I would call it an event, not a tournament. And they agree with this. I believe so. Is an event called Arc 40K. They've got 200 players this year. It's a 1350 point event, 6 rounds. There is composition scores. There is heavy presentation scores, sportsmanship.
So, this will tell you everything you need to know. Battle is worth 1/3 of your total score.
Yeah.
So, and that is the most, it has the largest attendance and has had the largest attendance forever, as
It's
far
a
as
little
I'm
bit
aware.
different though. This event is an Australian institution. It's been running for over 20 years. It's got a deep depth of history and tradition, and that's why it keeps getting continuous support.
Yeah.
Oh, it's kind of like Adepticon, except where Adepticon has just basically 3 hills on every table, but still 500 people will show up.
Exactly right. Exactly right, man. That's perfect.
Look, Arc 40K, it's one of my favorite events to play in. It's a lot of fun, but and one of the things you do see, what would be interesting, assuming they'll let us have these stats, and I don't know if they will, the things like unit analysis will be completely different. Because for starters, no super heavies or Titanic, whatever keyword you want to use now. So knights will not even be there. They're not allowed. And you won't see like shadow swords. You won't see any Baneblade variants, etc. I believe they still don't allow Forge World. And as I said, as a result, what you end up with is the most eclectic lists, which
I'm going to take Assault Centurions.
yeah, this guy. Anyway.
Nice.
But look, it's a fun event to play in. But yeah, you don't. If you go there to win Arc, you are going there with the wrong mentality. That sounds odd, I think, to probably most of our listeners. But it's you're going there for an experience. There's videos between each round, like with reasonably high quality cinematic value. It's just got a really good vibe to it. I don't know enough about the US events to do a true comparison. Adepticon might fit into that category. But like, have you got more narrative-based events over there?
We don't have a lot of really large narrative events. They tend to be more regional.
Yeah.
We do have a lot of events like that, but they are all like 50 to 60 person regional events.
Yeah. So for us, I mean, I would argue that it probably encourages the more narrative-focused player, which it appears, at least in Victoria, there are more of them than there are of pure competitive. Now, a lot of the players will, like, I'm going to play an ARC. I'm also, he's going to play an ARC. He's also in the ETC team. Like, I mean, the thing about 40K is that there's not just one way to play it.
And no one way to play it is better than any others.
Well, my way is better than your. No.
As long as you enjoy it, you're doing it right.
Yep.
Yep, I agree.
I appreciate that there are events like that out there. I think really what it comes down to is the labeling and kind of the presentation. That if you tell people like, yeah, I'm running a tournament, then there is a certain expectation of like, well, okay, a tournament is a competitive event. But if you tell people I'm running a narrative event or sort of a more casual, like come in and show off your paint or whatever it may be, then that informs how people are going to want to behave at your event and what they're going to want to do there.
I also think, the players pack or rules pack, if it clearly defines these additional scoring elements, how you score these points. So one of the very first pages of the rules pack or player pack for ARC 40K is a pie chart, and that pie chart shows the 1/3 of battle. So before you even get into any detail, if you just look at one page, you get a feeling of what the event, and the composition score and the sportsmanship scores are categorized into the, I believe, don't be a dick category. So, it sets the vibe fairly early on. So I would argue that most people that go to this event, they know exactly what they're getting into, and I do. It's what I enjoy about it. Would I want every single event to be like ARC? No, I wouldn't.
I am of the opinion variety is the spice of life. I love playing 40K across every medium, across everything. I consume so much, and I put so much of my love into it. I want to play it all the time, and every way it can be played.
So, back to this game just for a second. We are in the top of turn 6, so Dark Angel's final turn. And he has updated the secondaries. He's got 3 Reaper points, 3 Mark for Death, versus the Nid player who has just got the 3 points for Recon. And in the 5th turn, the Repulsors didn't kill a unit.
Wow.
And the Dark Angel player got hold 1, while the Nid player got hold 1 and hold more. So we are currently, and I think these scores are pretty accurate, at 17 to 12 with 1 turn remaining. And I think the Nid player pretty much just has to hold on.
Not get wiped. There's
no way he's getting wiped.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right.
There's if I go back to the overlay for a second, we've got a couple of models down here, some over here, some behind these walls.
That's what I mean.
Swarm Lord's standing in the open, but there's enough models. Look, there's still a Gaunt here. Like, yeah, he's not even close to getting wiped.
That's what I mean, dude. He can't lose, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because Swarm Lord's just...
Yeah. Sorry, Sean, go.
Oh, I was going to say, Swarm Lord just moved on the objective just to grab that because it's easier than anything else, and the Dark Angels won't have another turn to kill anything, so it won't really matter.
And from my mind, for where the Dark Angels are sitting, there's literally no way for them to score 6 points, which what they need to win this game. Let alone 5 points to draw it, in the hope that Tim doesn't score any.
What's the movement for Swarm Lord?
I think he's 8.
He can potentially, at full health, vault 32 inches in a turn.
Okay, so we are now top of turn 6. Tim's already started his movement. Would you at this point go, you know what? I want it. I'm going to charge that Swami and get the job done.
Here it comes.
Yeah, I would have tried for the Marked for Death point just because, like, you can get it. Like, there's
Yeah.
no more risk to have. I mean, I don't know how many wounds Swarm Lord is at. If Swarm Lord's at, like, 3 or 4 wounds, okay, I wouldn't do it then.
Yeah.
But if he's still basically full health, I would send him in and try and tear or repulsor down.
Yeah,
I agree
mean,
completely.
look, he's not going to die to Overwatch. Like, that ain't assuming he's on full wounds.
Yeah.
So, because I mean, the only downside of throwing that guy forward would have been if he died to Overwatch.
Right.
Because of Kingslayer.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
But outside of that,
He does
outside of
give
that-
up points there, but that shouldn't be a major issue.
Yeah, I agree. Look.
Not when you've got the bottom of the turn. It doesn't matter. It's relevance.
Although, also, I mean, Tim is at a point right now where he can look at the scores and go, cool, yep. So I'm fairly confident, it hasn't been entered just yet, I'm fairly confident Carlos killed a unit that turn, and he's holding an objective. Alright, so Carlos is on 2 more points.
We just had the
And then
handshake.
handshake, yeah. So Tim's just looked at it and going, you know what, there is absolutely no point in me doing this turn.
Yeah.
I'm just going to shake your hand, and we're gonna finish up because it's a long weekend. I reckon the players that get the endurance requirement for this event, wherever possible, don't waste your energy.
Everyone plays 8 games here. You need to stay at your best possible for 8 games. And it's very hard. I played 2 Cancons and 1 for fantasy, and I can tell you it's a hell of a slog.
Especially, so I'm not sure, it's actually cooled down quite a lot. So when the stream started, for our morning, so this roller door which you can see behind us, so outside, for most of the day, it's been about 44 to 47 degrees Celsius, which is like 110 plus Fahrenheit. I can't remember the exact number, but it's damn hot. And the aircon has really, the room's actually quite nice now, but earlier on, it was peak of the day, round 2 was horrible. We had people with their shirts off, sweating like, wet t-shirt contest. They just shook hands. They're finished. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk tats for another 10 minutes and wrap this baby up.
Yeah. We'll finish. Well, the game's done, so we'll just keep chatting now. Stats. And I'm not sure if the guys want to plug anything else as well while they're at it. I'm going to put links in the chat, so you do things.
I'm doing things. Look at me go. Amazing.
All right. So for our remaining viewers, I've just put the link to 40kstats.com, where you can find. So obviously we're talking today, we're just talking Cancon stats, and we're doing the same thing tomorrow. But obviously, if you want to start looking at stats for non-Cancon events, then head on over there. And if Peter wants to do one more plug for those that weren't here at the start of, Peter joining us.
Yeah, sure. Once again, if you're interested in 40K stats and exactly I shouldn't say exactly, but getting a rough idea of where the meta's been, head over to 40K stats. That's 40kstats.com. I collect data from every major and GT that I'm able to get the data from. So far, I've collected data from about 7,000 games.
Good game, guys.
Roughly about 45 major tournaments. It's really about all there is to it.
Yeah, sick.
It's fantastic stuff.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of it. And I'm just going to put the link to. You have a chat. Say hi.
Either of you guys want to interview? Will you preface the winner first? If you want to interview on here, feel free to type on it.
100% up to you.
Up to you. Of course, the winner gets the first preface. You decline.
We're just going to get
Apparently it won't let
Tim
me.
to jump on for a second. We've got links. So I've just put the Facebook link into the Finest Hour. I'll put the
The Facebook will have links to all of the individual episodes, so they'll be able to find it all through there.
Yep. So I just put some links in there. Hopefully those people that are interested, head on over to those, hit the like on the appropriate pages that require likes, follow, subscribe for ones that require subscribing, and any other terminology that the different mediums want to use. Sign up to an RSS feed for those podcasts. I don't know, I'm running out of pipes to talk about.
Join our web ring, please.
Yes.
Yes. So as far as the let's have a look at the update of the actual standings. So the other thing worth checking out, I'm just going to chuck that link there too. So on Best Coast Pairings, the Cancon result button. Never mind.
Oh.
There we go. We're back. So they're not updated.
Muppets, what have you done, you Muppet?
All right, never mind. I was hoping that because I know a few people that are on 3 wins. I was hoping the standings would tell us who were on 3 wins. Well, I can go to pairings and they'll tell me I know most of the ones. So I know Morrisoli got a win. Ben Mulhol's on another win. So he's one of our first patrons to sign up, and he was on stream round 1 and he's now on 3 wins.
Chris Wright just got his 3rd win.
Christopher Wright, who is, I believe, either ranked 1 or 2 in Australia right now. I'm getting a nod. We're unsure. There's a couple of results. All right, right now, if you look at the rankings for South Pacific on Frontline Gaming's website, Chris Wright is ranked number 1. There are a number of results that are currently sitting with FLG being uploaded, imported, tokens, all that stuff. And Matt Morrisoli, once those go in, will be number 1 and Chris will be number 2. So that's why I'm like, it's a little bit confusing, but hopefully, fingers crossed, everything will be sorted by the end of the... I have no idea what you're doing. So our main man, Eric, so one of the Queensland reps from the Australian ETC team, sitting over there. He's on 3 wins with NID, we call it NID Carpet.
180 gaunts.
So we've made the comment a little earlier. So Eric, with that NID Horde list, hasn't lost a game in like 6 to 8 months, tournament game. And he also has not been timed out. He gets his turns in with a stupid number of models, just to show that it has nothing to do with model count.
Where are people on the clock now?
It's
so
good players can finish. Oh, sorry.
No, you got it.
I was just say, good players can finish their games in time, even with large numbers of models.
Absolutely agree.
It's absolutely possible. It's a skill. It's a skill you have to practice. But for those of you who are out here who are like, well, Orcs just can't win because they have too many models, it's like, that's not true. They can do really, really well. So can Horde Nids, Horde Chaos, all of those.
So our first stream of the day had Orc Horde, and his Orc boys, basically they've got magnets on the bottom of the base, and he has these little metal movement trays with handles that pop up. And so I think they were five a tray, and he was super quick because it's easy to be quick when you got movement trays.
Okay. It helps. There are a lot of tricks you can use to speed things up. Some people use movement trays. Some people have them, like you see, separated out in the bags like that so they know where all their models are to start. Because honestly, it's deployment that takes a lot of the time.
Yeah, agreed.
Deploying out units eats up a big chunk of your time.
The other thing, if you play Orc Horde, I'll rephrase it, any Horde, it generally speaking, after the first couple of drops, or even before that, your Gaunts or your boys or your Gretchen are pretty much going the same spots, roughly, regardless. You just put the models down. Alright, don't wait for it to be your turn to start putting models down. Put models down while your other person's deploying. Alright. And what I've done with my Horde list is I have tokens, and basically I just deploy my army. Alright? I'm deploying it while my other person's doing their deployment, and when they go, it's alright, I've deployed, this unit in this Wave Serpent, I then point to one of the units that I put down on the table, put a marker next to it and say, that's there. Alright, everything else is pre-measurement, and I reserve the right to move it if I want to, but, I never have. I never have.
Yeah.
Saucy beast. Okay, we're going to have to wrap this up, guys. We're going to have Tim jump on here for an interview. So we're going to have to say goodbye to the lovely Pete and the lovely Sean. Thank you so much for joining us. We will talk to both of you
I believe
tomorrow.
both of them are joining us tomorrow.
They are.
I will be in tomorrow for whenever you guys are starting.
Maybe.
Yep.
Maybe.
You'll have my beautiful
We'll,
voice.
We'll work it out. I think also there's a chance we might have Pablo and
Yes.
Val.
Oh,
We actually have the whole
Nice.
shebang. If we
Yeah,
do
it's
have the whole
Pretty
shebang,
late for Val. He doesn't. He needs his beauty sleep.
it does.
Actually, well, look,
he's
to be honest,
beautiful without it.
So, also worth pointing out to anyone who's going to LVO that might be watching this stream, I think,
Get your
am I
list in.
right in saying that you've got literally hours until they need to be in?
If
Yeah,
that-
about 10 minutes to get your
10 minutes,
to get
man.
your list in. I
There's
think.
10 minutes left?
No, this were due yesterday, I believe.
No, it was today.
Right.
Well,
It's
Was it
believe
today?
it-
I thought it was Friday.
isn't today? No.
Today
25th.
is Friday.
Oh, no,
Today
yeah,
is-
no, I'm
you
I'm
guys.
confused. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
they
the-
were actually due 6 hours ago.
Is it 6 hours? I thought it was midnight Pacific. But regardless, either way, I think they were
You know
like
what?
120 lists. So people did
Oh,
okay. And that
There's a lot of people turned in. I am told about half of them are wrong.
they didn't use the right form.
But
Yeah. So
Like
if
they're
you're going
gonna
to
be.
LVO, double check that your list is in, that it's in the right format, and the correct time zone that you need to worry about.
Yeah, for sure. If it's not in yet, you're going to get a yellow card.
For sure.
it's
For
not actually.
attending?
It is a verbal warning.
No, they
right
changed
now.
it today.
Really?
Yeah.
It's a
Apparently,
yellow
Frank-
card.
All right.
I thought it was a yellow card. Oh,
So-
sorry.
we're-
Yeah, we'll let you
we're
guys.
gonna,
We can talk
we're
about
gonna let
this
you
after.
guys go so we can get Tim on, and then we're gonna get out of here so as we can do manual data entry of
Yay.
70 plus score sheets.
So I'm gonna
Thanks for having us, guys.
I'll interview this one. All right, cool. Well, thank you very much, guys. Once again, head over to In the Finest Hour. Head over to 40kstats.com. Head over and check out the Chapter Takes podcast. And yeah, we will catch you guys tomorrow. Peace.
Ciao.
All right. Jump on in, mate. All right. I will. Yeah. All right. So we have Tim, who was the NID player on the stream, with a 20 victory point to 14. So a pretty big win. How did you think the game
It
went?
was tight.
it
It
was-
was really hard. Really,
Yeah?
really hard. Repulsors for Neds are a lot of work.
Yeah, hard to get through them.
Well, I didn't kill one. Didn't kill any of my mark for death.
Yep.
It was just really hard. The only thing that kept me going was pushing him to the back edge,
Yep.
holding him up there, sitting on hold more as long as I could. But it was really, really hard. The biggest cruncher for me, which was my biggest fail, was Swarmlord blowing himself up with perils.
Oh, really?
I was going to use him to slingshot the full squad of Gene Stealers across.
So, for those that have been watching the stream, so all right, then you might be able to answer the question then, because we obviously mistook then. So there was what looked like some form of monstrous creature here. We thought was Swarmlord on the last turn. See on an objective.
So
What was that? If it wasn't Swarmlord,
back in my deployment zone,
yeah, like on the last couple of turns. It
the melon throat.
was the Malanthrope, guys.
So I had the
Sometimes the top-down approach,
Yeah, it's tough.
it's quite tough. I mean, repulsors are easy.
Oh, they stick out,
Like
yeah.
you know, but even there was a point where you had we were umming and ahhing whether or not they were Gaunts or Gene Stealers at first couple of points, but then it became a lot clearer.
Yeah.
It's quite interesting. So if you're interested in watching it back, we had two guys from Chapter Tactics talking Cancon stats, but also the game.
Oh, wow.
So it was we got them on mainly to talk, trends and all that kind of stuff. But we had four of us talking about a specific move you did, and all agreeing that you were winning the game. But all four of us, I think, were disagreeing on. Some were saying, "Yep, perfect move." Some were saying, "No, I would have done this." Someone doing that.
Which move was that?
So this was when you had the repulsor. He had the repulsor,
the castle, yep.
repulsor, and the guardsman.
Yep.
So my suggestion, and look, it's hard to tell with exactly how many models there were in hindsight, but you charged, I think, the two, maybe even the third,
Yep.
and he ended up falling back.
Yep.
So one of the potential options, and we'll never know, or you will have a better understanding of whether or not it was even achievable, was tapping the 3 repulsors with a single gene stealer, and all the rest spreading out, and those gaunts that you had drop down, trying to take up as much space over here. So they had no space to fall back.
I didn't have enough
Not
gene
quite
stealers
enough
to
models.
really put it out there. I think I had 9 and 7 or something like that.
Yeah, I thought you might have had enough, but I think the other 3 thought you were probably just short.
I was just short.
You know, and if you don't measure it out, especially in a top-down approach, you know, it's very hard to know exactly whether or not it's going to be achievable. But hey, it was very, you know, we said as soon as you boxed him in into that back, as soon as I think it was turn 2, he didn't hold an objective.
Yep.
I'm like, all right, that was solid. Oh no, sorry, it was turn 3. He didn't hold an objective.
Turn 3. So from basically the get-go, I knew that if I didn't hold more, I was going to lose.
Yep.
And
well, you held more all 6 turns.
The main gripe for me was using the gene stealers for the forward pressure, knowing they were going to be sacrificial, holding back and making them last as long as they humanly could.
Yep.
That was my only gameplay for it, and I think it paid off. It was a tight game. It
was. Look, I mean, he did have the 3 repulsors left at the end, but I agree. I mean, I actually don't know. Other than if he had tried to put forward pressure onto you, I think
he would have tabled me.
Well, potentially.
Or maybe not.
Once the Swarm Lord was gone, maybe. But the Swarm Lord, you could have eaten 1 repulsor while still wrapping him, then eat another and still not get shot.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Swarm Lord was a
What turn did the Swarm Lord crack it? Was it turn early?
Yeah, turn 3. I think he killed himself.
Okay.
And when he came down, I knew he was going to cop a bit of heat, but yeah, he just didn't last long enough.
Yep.
Got him down to 2 wounds. Then I perils and killed a bunch of my own stuff. But yeah, I would have loved to have got him in because he might have been able to get rid of 1.
Yep.
But the amount of shooting repulsors have is obscene.
Yeah, I think it was his turn 3, I want to say. So you boxed him in turn 2, he fell back on turn 3, and we were talking about a stat in his movement phase, and we turn around and all the Steelers are gone, and we're like, let's go back to the stream just for a second.
That's what repulsors do.
Yeah, they're repulsing. Yep.
Biovores were another real big hit because those spore mines are money for jam.
Oh, for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, and you had the 60 points left over for the Sporefield strat as well, didn't you? Yeah.
I put that late in the start.
Yep.
Look, it was a fantastic game. Carlos was brilliant. We both can't hear it, but we were laughing the whole time. It was a really, really good game, and I was sweating the whole time. Obviously, it's 45 degrees in here. But, he played a really strong game, and I just think he should have put the forward pressure on because it would have been a completely different game.
Yeah, but the other option, because I think it was turn 4 or 5 was when he actually started to. So turn 3, he fell back into the corner.
Yep.
So for those who are still on the stream, so turn 3 he pushed fell back all his repressors and whatnot into the corner. Turn 4 he moved up, and that move on turn 4 he got kill 1, which on that second move. But after he cleared the gaunts, the Steelers, and I think the Tyrannocyte, I think he overkilled. So one of the things I find with ITC style missions, obviously, yes, you want to kill stuff.
He could have left it.
He could have left.
Get the points.
He could have left a couple of gaunts left in that unit, and go, you know what? I'm going to save that for now turn 4. But he's just put the foot on the throttle and killed 3 units when 2 would have done the job.
Definitely.
And then on his turn 4, he only got kill 1.
Yeah.
Not kill more.
Yeah.
So it's
he sort of lost out on a couple of points, but as I said, he played an incredibly strong game, and I did have him a little rattled by getting him boxed in the corner at the back of his deployment zone.
Yep.
But it was great. He was a really good
opponent. It was good forward pressure in those first 2 turns, and I think in probably would have been turn 3 or 4 when you just really backed back and basically made his turn 5 and turn 6. He didn't kill a single thing.
No.
And because he would have been out of range of pretty much everything for at least 2 turns.
Yep.
We were arguing that, or debating that potentially he should have on turn 5 just advanced all 3 repulsors.
He should have. Yep. They should have been on the front line shooting everything down.
We were unsure. Well, as I said, we thought Swarmlord was still alive, but
no, unfortunately he blew himself up.
Yeah, it's tough. The streams that we've done at House of War don't have the same sound as this.
Yep.
We've been able to pick up audio from the webcam, so as we can hear you. So it's like when you play the strat or whatever.
You know it. Yeah.
You know it. Here, most of it's been pretty clear, and the iPad app's been really handy with knowing that things have died. But as far as
what strats are being used,
what strats are being used,
take a guess at it.
yeah, honestly, you do. And we mainly talk about what we would have done. What I've found very interesting is Adam and I don't always agree. When you get 2 people who cover US stuff onto the stream, and some points Adam says they'll agree with, and some points I say, like it's a big, no one's right.
Yeah.
Like with 40K, there's more than one way. There's more than one way to play it.
Absolutely.
And yeah, as I said, got the job done. 20 to 14, 6 full turns. You've got how many models? Ish.
I think it's about 100 and.
It's a few. You've got like
something.
Yeah, so I'd classify that as Horde.
Oh, 100%.
And how have you found your turns? So, I mean, this one obviously you got 6 turns in comfortably.
Yeah,
how have your other games gone?
I had about 14 minutes to spare.
Yeah.
Every game I've been getting
full
turn
turns?
5, turn 6. Yeah, no problem.
I think it's quite interesting. I mean, we'll end up doing an article once we've got all 8 rounds in. But one of the things we found quite interesting was the game's finishing.
Yep.
So like in the first 2 rounds, like 83% were finishing compared to the 8-fold path, which was like a week ago, where it was like 30% were finishing.
Yeah, right.
Like, I don't know what's going on here. What's different between this?
It's a highly competitive environment here. Everyone's super conscious. I mean, when list submissions were done and lists were released, everyone saw the amount of hordes, plague, spam.
I think it was also the stance that the TOs decided to take on, yes, chess clocking, but not only chess clocking. If you continue to finish your games,
you get a penalty.
You get a penalty.
Yeah.
What I find interesting about that is if every TO did that, all Horde lists would start getting their turns in. Like, it's clearly not a Horde issue. I think it's I don't know what the issue is, but it's not one faction. Like, it's not one. It's not even one archetype. I mean, if we look at the stats, 8-fold path, I would classify more elite style lists were still not getting their turns in. Like, it wasn't just 100+ model lists that weren't getting their turns in.
No. The accusation that Hordes can't get to their turn 6 is inaccurate.
Yeah.
It also depends on the players, if they know each other and they're skylarking about. If you're hanging out with your mate and playing, you're not really putting your foot on the gas.
Agreed. Also, I'd be interested to see. So for those who are familiar with most of the Victorian events which are run at the House of War, great venue, it has a bar. I know many games that mid-game, both players leave the table, head to the bar, get some drinks, go back.
4 drinks down, you're not rolling clearly.
Yeah,
you're not making smart decisions.
Whereas here, it's a dry venue.
Yep.
Now, what will be interesting is rounds 4 and 6. So, people who are hungover. You can't drink here. You can't drink here. But I do wonder if if players, there should be a tick box on this score sheet. Are you hungover?
Were you on the beers?
Are you under the influence?
Yeah.
And we'll see what effect that has.
Yeah.
But yes, so
it was a good game and it was tight, but Carlos was bloody brilliant. Cheers, Carlos.
All right. Well, we'll do a quick little plug of the sponsors to say thank you. Thanks again.
Thanks very much,
Tim, and thanks again, Carlos, for getting on.
Yep.
So big shout out to OTP Terrain, who have been literally sponsoring every single stream we've done.
They're
They're doing
heaps of their stuff.
3 different. They're giving us 3 vouchers. So the most valuable viewer award. So people who get involved in the chat we'll get a $25 gift voucher. And then the Dream Team competition on Down Under Pairings, which will be updated at the end of each day once all these are entered. The top, TOs. The top Dream Team coach will win a prize, but also we're going to give the top Dream Team player a prize.
Fantastic.
So, interestingly enough, that it won't necessarily be the person who wins the event, because most of the things you can achieve aren't necessarily. All right, so right now, if I use Tim's score sheet as an example, how many points Tim would get? So Tim got 17 primary points to 7. So you would suggest you thought that was a very tight game?
Yeah, it was close.
All right, but
Close.
you doubled his primary points, so you would be getting some Dream Team points.
Yeah, right.
All right, whereas someone who gets a bigger win, but the opponent got more primaries, and well, i.e. more than half of them,
Yep.
Don't get the bonus. So
Yeah,
you don't.
right.
It's more about the individual. So Carlos, for example, got 7 secondaries to your 3.
He did really well on
So
those.
he's gonna so he doubled your secondaries. So he's gonna get, I think, 5 Dream Team points. So it's
Unreal.
Even losing, you can get bonuses.
Yep.
What I'd love to see is not someone on the podium, because it'd just be,
Be nice to give
be
someone
nice to give small
an
prizes
underdog
out.
a gift.
Yep.
And OTP Terrain, they're great. They're based out of
WA, yeah.
Perth, and I've used heaps of their stuff. Great for conversions. They're really good.
Yeah.
Really good
You
company.
use the turrets for your tower, didn't you? Oh, Riptides.
Riptides
Yeah.
for the ATC champs.
Yeah, so there was that was which was interesting, because we only heard about them at the ATC.
Yeah, right.
They'd
They'd only been out about 4.5 weeks.
Yeah, I don't know
and
how
I
you
got
managed to
onto it
find that.
really early, and they're really, really cheap. So get on it, guys.
Yeah, and they're doing a massive sale till the 1st of Feb, 15% off.
That's unreal.
The code will rock up in a moment on the scroll at some point, but it's OTP 15%. We'll talk about it a lot. For those that are at Cancon, there's going to be posts and stuff around. So head on over, show some support. And the Army Painter have been great as well. So the Army Painter, we're using them. I'm using them quite exclusively for my Orc list for Arc to get that many models painted in time.
Good luck.
Well, I don't have
Huge.
quite as many as the list that Nick Nanavati's doing, which
Yep.
he did in 72 hours. So for those that are interested, who have hordes that want their armies to look good, basically, Army Painter is all about painting your models to a reasonable standard.
Good tabletop standard. which
Standard with
as
the
a
least
whole
amount of
look
effort.
great.
Their little catchphrases, get more time for gaming.
Beautiful.
So there's a whole bunch of videos on their Facebook page, so head over there and give them a like and check out their videos with Nick Nanavati and his 72-hour marathon of painting. So that was from, they sprayed on sprue with different colored primers.
Yep.
They cut, assembled, then did touch-up painting, dipped, matte varnished, 72 hours. It actually looks
It'll look
above
good, but
tabletop standard.
I wouldn't want to do it.
Oh, no fucking way.
No.
I think he actually did close to 4,000 points because the list hadn't been decided. So it's just like,
poor
we'll just do all
bastard.
these models.
Oh, well.
And you want to grab us any one of those bags of dice there? That'll do. All right, so we're calling it now. So Mandalore from Auckland, New Zealand, has scored himself a set of Down Under Pairings / Network dice. We'll try and get in contact with you. I don't think you're still on. If you're still on, make sure you hit us up with a message, because we don't have your real name. That's the one issue with Twitch. We actually don't know necessarily who to give the prize to. But hit us up. We'll make sure you get the dice. They can be, mix of black or white. You can pick. There you go. You got all black colours for New Zealand.
Nice one.
All
Thanks
right,
very
so
much, mate.
peace, guys, and I will just say ciao. And
Peace.
thanks again, Tim.